Hello, peeps. Good morning. Happy hump day. Happy hump day. It is Wednesday here in the land of dispense. And today's Jersey Day at school. I gotta be repping. My Niners. While I have not been a fan of the NFL as of late, for a myriad of reasons, one of which is I don't like when people try to utilize their position with personal agendas. Just throw that right out there. I don't think that sporting events, which are meant for entertainment purposes, should be used for political rallies. Just throw that out there. Anyways, I digress. That's not what I'm talking about today. Today, on Hump Day, Wednesday, I had to think for a second to verify that it was, in fact, Wednesday. um, I want to talk about the concept of essentialism. And more specifically, put my phone in do not disturb. Um, why is it so damn hard to create boundaries and just say no when you need to? Why is it so hard? I don't know. So, last night, I was reorganizing a certain part of my closet, aka my storage junk place, in my studio, which is really beautiful because I can hide it behind a door, and then I put my glasses tapestry over it, and no one even knows it's there. And I came across a book that I read a while ago. Obviously, I don't think I was in the correct mindset to implement most of the book, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a great book with a lot of amazing concepts in it. So I didn't bring the book today because I thought, well, if I bring it here, it's sure to get lost. And I'm definitely going to read it again sometime very soon. But I did print out a picture of the cover of the book. And it is by Greg McEwen. It's called The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, Essentialism. And there are so many great concepts in this book that really make you think like, man, he makes it sound so easy. Why is it so hard? I'll tell you why it's so hard. It is so hard because when you are sitting face to face with someone, it is really hard to look them in the eye and say, you know what? I just don't have time for this right now. They would look at you like, what? At least that's my experience in my life. I don't know. Maybe people have just come to accept the fact that, like, I'm never going to say no. And therefore, they always ask me. But here's the thing. So, it's the time of year as a school teacher and as a student where your patience level gets really thin. You're really stressed out. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Kids are going to be taking standardized tests soon, and that's like it's a whole nother ball game. And then you've got sports on top of it and other commitments. And, you know, a lot of students nowadays are also working in high school. And it's funny because I just had a conversation yesterday with one of my students where, like, my dad wouldn't let me get a job. And I'm kind of now, at the age of 48, very thankful for that. He wouldn't let me have a job when I was in high school because he said, you have a job. And maybe that's the foundation for how I approach my teaching. He's like, you have a job. Your job is to be a student. Your job is to be an athlete. Your job is to be a kid. And I was like, I don't know what that means. He said, you're going to have the whole rest of your damn life as an adult to work. You don't need those responsibilities right now. What you need to focus on is developing yourself as a person, as a student, as an athlete, and spend some time having fun with life. And at the time, I was like, but I really just want a car. And he said to me, a car is not essential to your existence right now. Your mother and I are very capable of getting you around. And I was like, yeah, but I want one. Yeah, see, that's the difference. You want it, you don't need it. And so way back then, my dad was teaching me the concept of essentialism and how easy it was to say no to someone when they were requesting something. Why I didn't pick up on that cue and carry it into my own life, I have no freaking idea. But I think about it like I'm watching a lot of meltdowns happen here at school for academic and personal reasons. And I, too, am under a lot of stress. I always feel like I'm under the gun. I don't want to rehash that every day. I don't like to focus on it every day. But what I am trying to get these young people, these young adults, the ones that are about to unleash themselves on the world especially, it is okay to not be all things to all people simultaneously. And I say that from a point of do as I say, not as I do. Hypocrite. But I get so sad sometimes when I think about watching some of these kids go through the exact roller coaster that I did. And at the time, I always, and this is what I communicate to my kids. At the time it was happening to me, I thought I was the only person in the world that it was happening to. Hey, have you ever had that? Like, you're going through something that you feel like you just can't get through, and you look around and you're like, everybody else seems to just have their shit together, and I don't. Well, guess what? They don't have their shit together. Oh, Renee. You know that I would welcome them with open arms into my classroom. Because if they're anything like their mama, you know, they're amazing. So, the first thing that I always say to the kids, I had a couple like meltdowns in the last few days. And I say to them, I know it feels like you are an island unto yourself, but you are not. All these people that you're looking at, they too are struggling. Some of them a little more silently than you, but they are struggling. And so I think back to this concept. Renee, this is an amazing book. Essentialism. Greg McKeown. I should probably look up how to pronounce his name correctly. But there are so many things in this book that are applicable to not just a work environment, but to so many other aspects of your life where you whittle things down to what's really, really important. Like, really important. The essentials. And everything else takes a back seat to those essentials. I did an exercise once. And I think I might want to do this with my high schoolers, like my seniors in particular, before the end of the school year. I had someone once do an exercise with me where they basically said, you are allowed one piece of paper. It is to be 1 inch by 1 inch square. 1 inch, this much. A perfect square that is 1 by 1. And on that square, you are to write down two things. On one side, you are to write down the people who are allowed to speak into your world, the ones that have influence over who you are, how you think, what you do, just the core of what makes you you. Only put the person's name on there if you have a major life decision to make and you value their opinion enough to speak to them about it. The essential people. And they also said, by the way, you can't do a cop out and say like God. Because while this person was faith based, they said God doesn't sit and have Dunkin' with you and talk out your problems. God's communication with you is a little bit different. So you can't put God on there. And then they said, on the other side of that 1 inch by 1 inch paper, you are to write down no more than 5 things. Because it has to fit on this paper. What is truly important to you? And you can't write people because people are on the other side. What is truly important to you? What values drive you? What does a perfect day look like? What does it entail? What does it include? And then take that paper and put it somewhere safe. Because whenever you're doubting yourself or whenever you're at a point where you're feeling overwhelmed and overloaded, take out that paper. And if whatever is driving your frustration, if it's not on that paper, it goes away. Mine would include my very oldest friend from elementary school. I assume, Renee, I know who that is, but who is that? I mean, I'm sure I know them, but I don't know like who that is for you. The second side is harder. Yeah. The second side took me like way longer to do. And then after I wrote it out, I actually took a picture of it. And then like I edited the pictures together so I could see the front and the back. And I made it my screensaver on my phone for the longest time because I needed that reminder. Oh, duh, I knew that, Jackie. Yeah, I knew that. I needed that visual reminder. And I think I'm at that point again that I need it. Yeah, I love Jackie. Like her laugh, her smile, like I could just, she's in my head right now. You know, she's just got one of those personalities. And so I think of this idea where we as adults, it gets harder and harder to whittle things down to the essentials because we feel like we have so many responsibilities and we have so many people that we have to help and answer to and just be a major part of their life. And that doesn't necessarily just include our immediate family, our spouses, our children. But we also have to look at it in terms of it's not just those that like we need to be emotionally available for and like we feel a responsibility to be like speaking into their lives constantly. It has also to do with work. You know that old adage, the more you do well, the more you end up doing? You know? But there is a part of this book where he talks about actually saying no to a coworker the first time. And he, if I remember correctly, it's been a couple years since I read the book the first time. He worked in the corporate world, I think. And so he had like people from other teams, like they were writing proposals and they were working together on stuff. And he actually had someone who was either looking for a report or they asked him to contribute in some way to a project that they were doing. And he actually looked at them and he felt like he was going to vomit, but he said, "No, I don't I don't have time for that right now on my plate. I'm sorry, but no." And he said in the end, the more he said no, his productivity increased because he was able to focus his energy and passion where it needed to be. But second, he said people respected him more because instead of saying yes to everything and then spreading yourself so thin, you look like a piece of like, saran wrap you can see through. You become really well respected, really well read, really just good at like the things that you focus your attention on. And so this is a message that I need constantly because I am a giant hypocrite. I tell my kids here not to stress about stuff, and yet I go home and I secretly, silently stress about it. I worry that I'm not being everything that I need to be for my family members and for my husband and for my students. And like sometimes I just don't give myself grace enough to go, hey, you know what? You're actually killing it, girl. Like just relax. You're killing it. But those are rare times that I do that. And I always feel like if I'm not constantly busy, that I'm not being productive. And that's the opposite of what he is trying to say here. Sometimes the less you have on your plate, the more essential things you focus on, the more productive you end up being. The less stressed you are, the happier you are, the more energized you are, the healthier you are, and yada, 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 yada. So I just can't figure out for the life of me why it is so damn hard sometimes to just have respect enough for yourself and the boundaries and your health and your mental well-being to say no to something and just be like, I can't right now. That doesn't mean I can't forever. It just means I can't right now. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and you've got friends that are like coming to you for emotional support and you don't have it to give, it's more respectable for you to say, I love you. I worry about what you're going through, but I can't be that safety net for you right now because I feel like my net is too thin. If somebody else jumps up and down on it like a trampoline, we both might break. In the end, isn't that healthier for everybody? You know? And I think back, like I said, to that time where my dad was like, no. And think of you as a parent. Like, how easy is it for you to tell your kids no? It's pretty easy. How easy is it for me to tell my kids in my classroom no? It's pretty easy. But yet, when I'm dealing with other adults, it's not so easy. So, today is hump day. We are talking about the hurdle of not necessarily respecting boundaries that you need to create. Not being able to say no and focus on the essentials when you absolutely must do that for yourself. So, go grab the book, Essentialism by Greg something McCowan. It's called The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. And so, I am going to go and focus my energies in prepping my playlist for my kids. Speaking of energy, I'll be out in the hall dancing like I am every morning for them. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that you have an amazing day. Please, please, please make the most of it because, as you know, it's just never, ever gonna happen again. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Thursday edition of YouTube and A, the dispense dish. Bye, guys.